Hello, guys. You might notice that Mumkey's not here, and there is a very good reason for that. A couple weeks ago, Mumkey and Florian asked me what movie to do an Is It Kino on, and as a joke, I thought of the longest and most depressing movie that I could think of and suggested that. That movie is Shoah, a 9.5 hour long documentary about the Holocaust. I didn't actually think that Mumkey or Florian would watch it. I've seen it, but I didn't think that they would watch it. And Mumkey didn't. Florian, he doesn't get outside much, so he did. I think...
so this was all a joke too, is it? This is it, huh? You never watch any normal movies, so this is what you make me watch? Alright, well, tough luck. I like learning about the Holocaust, okay, so...
I didn't say that it's not a normal movie. It's a good movie.
How this is not a normal movie, okay? You want to know what a normal movie is? Schindler's List, okay? That's a normal movie. This is an abnormal movie, okay?
Yeah, this movie is on Sight and Sound's top 100 movies of all time, and I don't see Schindler's List on that list.
Well, that's a bad list then, I guess.
No, it's a very good list. Let me just see where, and this is a list formed by film critics and filmmakers. This is like the list of the best movies, right? Let me see where Shoah is on that. I'm gonna look this up, but we'll continue talking.
That must be a really fun list if it has Shoah on it.
It's a very fun list. Yeah, it's a very fun list. I'm looking it up right now. Top 100.
I bet there's not one movie that's actually fun to watch. It's all just depressing stuff.
There's plenty of movies that are fun to watch. I've seen a lot of them.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Plenty of good films on this list that are fun to watch. Vertigo is number 1. Hitchcock is number 1. Come on.
I don't know what that is.
You don't what? do you not know what Vertigo is, or do you not know what Hitchcock is?
Well, I know Hitchcock is a series. I'm confused why it's on a movie list.
Wait, Hitchcock is a film director.
Wait, why is a director on a list of movies? That's even more confusing.
Because he directed Vertigo.
Ah, okay.
So I said, Hitchcock.
I guess that checks Vertigo out then. Okay.
Yeah, Citizen Kane is number 2. Tokyo Story 3. The Rules of the Game 4. These are all fun movies. Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Such amazing fun. Those are just like significant movies, but I would not think that they're fun movies. Come on.
Yeah, no, they are fun movies. Breathless is number 13. As much as I don't like Godard, Breathless is fun. Apocalypse Now is number 14. Come on, these are
fine.
Really
that one's probably all right.
Seven Samurai. Come on, these movies are fun.
Never seen it. Damn.
Singing in the Rain is number 20. How can you get more fun than Singing in the Rain? Come on.
You mean A Clockwork Orange?
I think A Clockwork Orange is somewhere on the list. In the mood for Rashomon, Andrei Rublev, Mulholland Drive. Oh, you should watch Mulholland Drive, actually. Shoah is number 29. I just found it. Show is number 29.
Wow, so close and so far behind Citizen Kane and A Space Odyssey, 2 movies which are terribly outdated and not that much fun to watch nowadays.
They are not outdated, actually, at all, I would argue.
No? They're
not outdated at all. I'd actually say that Citizen Kane is more relevant now than it was back in 1941.
Well, because of Trump?
Not just that, but a mix of because of Trump, but also because of the media and everything like that. But aren't we here to talk about Shoah?
Yeah, I was confused when we're going to get to that.
yeah, you're supposed to be the host, right?
Well, it's fine because Shoah is a very long movie, so I'm sure that we'll be here a very long time. I never do a review of a movie that's shorter than the movie itself, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw someone on Twitter say, you're not going to do it justice unless your review is 18 hours long.
Yeah, at least. I was thinking 24 hours, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, so I think we can just sort of get in there, sort of CinemaSin style, right? And just start really nitpicking
I'm really
all their stories.
I'm going to ding all the time, man. Damn.
Yeah, you're like, It's just like the Nazi version of the CinemaSins. It's like, I doubt that happened.
Oh no, not the Holocaust denial version of Cinema Sins. Yeah, that would be hilarious. Oh my god.
But
I guess I guess there aren't any sins that the movie makes. No, I guess
no, I mean, like,
it's pretty good overall. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a documentary, and so for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a documentary that doesn't use any archival footage. So they shot it over the course of 11 years across multiple continents, finding not just Holocaust survivors, but they sort of got people from almost every aspect of how the Holocaust happened. They even interviewed like ex-SS guards and things, people like that.
Yeah, through their windows. They're filming them through their windows, and when they think they're not being watched, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they had some sort of like... So the ex-Nazis, because obviously they didn't want their faces to be shown, agreed to do like audio interviews, and then they had like secret cameras in there that they were using like surveillance vans to get video to show it, because like one of these ex like SS guards had in his apartment had like the entire layout of the death camp.
I can't believe that he still had that. I don't know if he got that specifically for the interview, or if he just has like the blueprint of the death camp in his wall at all times. That's so wild that he would have that. Damn.
Yeah, and he was completely like, this is where they would go, this is what would happen, and everything like that. And an interesting thing, and it's something I brought up on my channel before, is this idea. I talked about it with the YouTuber Attar. And I was thinking about this when I was watching Shoah, right? So it's this idea that like when you hear about a historical thing happening, like a war or something like that, often the information gets relayed to you is from like one source. It's some kind of media source, right? It's like this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. It's a very sort of impersonal story that you get, and it's a story with all sort of cultural biases, political biases, everything like that baked into it. So you're getting a version, almost a semi-fictionalized version of those events. And what Claude Lanzmann, the director of Shoah, does, and this is why the movie is so long, is he tries to get people's individual experiences and gets them to recount their individual experiences. And now there probably are discrepancies and there probably are mistakes in what they recount, because, by the time that he was filming them, it was 35 years in the past. But I think that what really works, especially when he's talking to Holocaust survivors, what really sort of makes the film work is their emotions that really come through, and how he doesn't really like cut away. And there's this like, with some of them, this kind of like awkwardness,
Oh yeah, there's lots of that.
Yeah,
it's so wild, especially when he has the interviews that are in like some language that he doesn't speak, and then he has the dolmetscher woman, and then you just have the camera on their face as they wait for the dolmetscher woman to. Is that an English word, dolmetscher? The translator woman to relay the information to him, and it's so bizarre. I really feel like they could have probably done that part better, because they could have just like dubbed over what they were saying, so they could have cut out the part where they were relaying it.
Because Claude Lanzmann, is he Swiss? I thought he was French. But
no, there's no way he's Swiss. I would have definitely, unless he's a French Swiss, I guess. But he does not he does not speak the Swiss German, so it would be very unlikely that he would be Swiss.
Oh, okay, yeah, but he speaks German, French, and English, so all those parts are in subtitles. It's when he's talking to people who are speaking Hebrew and Polish, which I think that early on you're like, this guy's speaking like broken German, but I'm pretty sure that the broken German was just Polish.
It got me. It took me a while to get used to it, but it was definitely German. Yeah, it's the
Oh.
The singing one, the one in the boat. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, he is French. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Man, that
Claude
one was
Lanzmann is French.
yeah, that was a wild story with the Jew that they forced to sing.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that he was shot in the head and survived?
Yeah, so it must not have hit his brain. Like, that's the craziest thing, is that they shot him in the back of the head, and he survived.
Oh, in the back. That's why I couldn't see a scar. All right.
Yeah, they shot him in the back of the head. And so I was talking to my dad about this, because both my parents are doctors, and my dad worked in the trauma center at San Francisco and Oakland, California. And he had a guy who was a drug dealer, got shot in the back of the head, and the bullet just kind of like went around the outside of his skull and came out the front. And
What?
the guy was fine. Yeah.
Wait, how is that possible?
I mean, it just depends. I'm not a doctor, you know.
Well, you must be getting that wrong. There's no way that it crawled under his skin around in his...
No, not that it crawled under his skin. It's just that when it hit the skull, it like refracted, I guess. Like, it didn't go straight through.
That makes sense. Yeah, it might bounce off. That could happen.
Yeah, it kind of bounced off and ended up not hitting his brain.
But the fact that it went out in the front in that case, that's pretty... I don't know how that managed to happen. Or maybe it just hit like a tiny bit of the brain where it wasn't too bad.
I mean, crazy things like this happen, you know? And yeah, and that guy was one of... So actually in the documentary, they say he was one of two, the one of two to survive that camp. But actually, since that documentary came out, they found 7 other people that survived the camp. But at the time, only 2 were known to have survived.
Well, what does that even mean? Does that mean that they literally, like, none but those survived, or does it mean that they survived but then they died before they could make the documentary?
No, it just means that, you know, because
that's so unlikely that the 2 ones that would have survived, and they also went to live till 80 or however old
yeah,
they
it's
are.
also unlikely.
So there must have been many that survived but then died later of old age, or...
Well, they only know of 9 Jews in that camp that, like, at this point, that survived being in that camp.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time, they only thought it was 2, but there were 7 more that came out. And this happens, like, right when you make a documentary, especially, like, a massive documentary like Shoah. You have all the information that's available to you at the time, and when you put it out, more stuff can come out of the woodworks, which is why Claude Lanzmann made a few follow-ups to Shoah that obviously aren't as long. That's like his magnum opus. But yeah, he made a few follow-ups, sort of going
wow.
more into detail.
I guess that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this happened when I made the video with the Gamer from Mars about Basherverse. We put out the video with all the information that we had at the time, and then after we put out the video, we had people flooding DMs with their stories, all sorts of new information. We couldn't vet any of the information, so it was all hearsay and rumor really to us. But I mean, it happens. When you put out a documentary like that, you just have a lot of people contacting you saying like,
"Wait, what was your documentary about?"
Oh, it's about Basherverse. Hey, you know what? It has 1 million views on YouTube.
Wait, what is that? Pastureverse? What?
No, Basherverse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guess I'm really missing out on that.
It's not mine.
Oh, it isn't?
I edited
All
it.
right.
I edited it. I edited like 40 minutes of it. Me and Turkey Tom and Slacker were the editors on it. But we were very, I was also doing research for it, and so it's just, a lot of people just came out after we put out the video with all sorts of new info that we couldn't verify. So, we ended up not really going with any of it. But it happens. It's just what I'm saying. I'm sure that, after he put out his documentary, not to really compare the two. One's a YouTube video, one's like a magnum opus documentary.
Wow.
You know, there's not really a
So
comparison
relatable.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just recounting my own personal experience here. I'm sure that tons of people came out of the woodworks, and you know, he got so much new information just after making it. But talking about information, the thing that really sort of stood out to me, and I don't mean to sound autistic, but is how cool it sort of shows the trains. Like, it spends a lot of time on trains.
Yeah, it's perfect because trains are so spooky, and I guess they totally make sense with the theme.
Yeah, well, and it's not just that too. It's like this efficiency, right? This kind of industrial efficiency. But I didn't know the stuff that like they had to go through essentially a travel agency to like rent the trains wholesale, and then they were having issues with going from Greece to Germany, transferring drachma to marks, and it's like all these kind of bureaucratic problems, and that there were all these people working in the Department of Transportation that were ordering these trains that supposedly, this is what they claim, had no idea that they were going to concentration camps, right? They had no idea. That's what they say. And then they say like, oh yeah, later on we did. And that was also very interesting, is that when he was interviewing these people, the Germans especially, they'd be like, no, we didn't know this was happening. We didn't know this was happening. But he's interviewing them long enough and kind of egging them on. And then they eventually kind of relent. And they're like, yeah, actually, we knew it about this time, that this is what was going on. But the amount of bureaucracy with that, and the fact that all these orders were not top secret, like it says for internal use only, but it doesn't say top secret on their orders to send all these people to the death camps, because if they put top secret on there, that would arouse suspicion, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, what's the train guy gonna do? Is he gonna start killing Nazis? If he has a problem with it, they'll just kill him and replace him. I don't know what he could have done.
That is another thing, and it was interesting to hear that some of these Germans working, you know, in these bureaucratic positions, were almost under more strict rules than the Poles. The Poles could talk pretty openly about what was going on, but yeah, some of the Germans were afraid that they'd be killed if they brought it up. You know, and it's just it's an interesting dynamic all around of, I think what the documentary really shows is not just a system of oppression by Nazi Germany, but fear and apathy of everybody else. You know, kind of an apathetic nature to things. And something that also struck me as maybe symbolic, and maybe this is symbolic in a sort of, you know, looking back on it kind of way, but I think that there was symbolism to it at the time, is that the gas chambers with the Zyklon B, which, so Zyklon B was a pesticide that was made, but Zyklon A had a stench to it, so it added like a smell to it to basically make it so that it's
that makes
like
sense, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a pesticide. You don't want people inhaling pesticides.
I think I heard that. I think they made like a special version that was undetectable, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Zyklon B doesn't have that stench put in, and that's what they're using to kill these Jews in, you know, Auschwitz, Birkenau, and so, you know, they're telling them that they're going to get deloused, right? But in a symbolic way, in a kind of a, you know, this sort of genocidal way that, the Nazis saw Jews.
I don't like where this is going.
No. I'm just saying it's symbolic, right? Because they saw the Jews as insects, and so they're using pesticide to kill them, you know. But and it's kind of this, you know, it's a it's a mass genocide, but it's also a symbolic mass genocide.
Well, I hope that they didn't also do that just so they could spite them. So they're killing them with insecticide. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was just the cheapest way they could have done it, because they were trying with the car exhaust previously, and then like, what's the most common poison? Yeah, it's going to be pesticide.
Well, they were doing the car exhaust in the gas vans.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably cheaper than pesticide. But I mean, yeah, they didn't have that much money.
I don't think it would be cheaper. You know how long it takes to die from car exhausts? I mean, I assume quite a while.
Well, it's carbon monoxide.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't even kill you. It only like stops you from being able to breathe.
Yeah, but if you're not breathing for 15 minutes, you're pretty much dead.
Well, yeah, but I guess the Cyclone B took about as long, but I mean, driving a car for 15 minutes is probably more expensive than getting pesticide.
I mean, it might be, but I just know that the car thing, you know, how they saw the efficiency is that they didn't have, like, the transportation and the killing happened at the same time, you know, so they could transport them to the crematoria or the mass graves, and they could kill them at the exact same time. Whereas in the gas chambers, you know, they killed them and then they had to have the
surely you're not suggesting that the gas vents were more efficient, right?
I'm not the expert on this. I don't know which one was more, like, the gas chambers were probably more efficient. Well, I mean, put in 3,000 people at a time or something.
Yeah, the big one. But also, I mean, the obvious problem is that you have a van with screaming people in the back for 15 minutes. So that's, or like, I don't know how long they pass out. That's definitely a very bad way of doing it if you want to keep it secret.
Yeah, although I think that, you know, especially near the end of the war, it was more of an open secret in the sense that people knew that it was happening, but they didn't want to talk about it out of fear.
Yeah, but they would have done something more if they had screaming vans going by, like death screams on the road.
I don't know, because, and see, I say I don't know because when he's interviewing the Polish people in these towns, a few of them were, you know, like a few of them were sympathetic, and several of them just weren't, you know?
Well, I mean, I guess that's weird, because they brought up several times that the Poles didn't like the Jews. So I don't know, is that a thing? Is that still a thing? Because we keep hearing how Poland is like notoriously right wing now. I don't know, it's pretty weird.
Well, what was interesting is, speaking of like different kinds of European peoples, in almost all of the accounts, the people that people claimed in the death camps were like the worst were either Baltic or Ukrainian. You know, they bring up the Ukrainian guards and the Baltic, the Latvian, you know, Estonian SS people as being, you know, particularly the worst. When a lot of people think
they weren't SS, were they? Did they allow non-Germans to be SS? Well,
okay, maybe they weren't SS, but they were.
But
they were like Holocaust. But they were like death camp guards, and they were the ones that would really get into it. And yeah, and the ones that, you know, the particularly brutal ones in almost all of the cases when you're hearing these people talk are Ukrainians or they're Baltic. And a lot of people like to put the Holocaust or whatever on Germany when it was really kind of a concerted effort from several nations.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I mean, I think you probably should still put it on Germany, though.
I mean, Germany's the one that ordered it, the one that paid for it, the one that did all of that. But I mean, then the neighboring nations kind of. But then the neighboring nations kind of jumped in, you know, and were. You know, having their
but they weren't conquered, you know. So I don't know. I mean, if you conquer them, yeah, they'll probably help you then. I mean, it's like if you've killed everyone who disagrees with you.
Have you seen the movie Come and See?
No. What is that?
Okay, It's a Soviet World War II film. It came out, I think, the same year in 1985 as Shoah, but it's about a Belarusian kid who joins the partisans, and he witnesses. So in World War II, the Nazi forces, the Germans, they went through Belarus and just razed these towns and massacred all these villages. And in Come and See, the kid witnesses one of these massacres, and actually the head of like the particularly brutal Nazi soldier who I don't want to spoil anything, but is Estonian. I was making a joke in my server because in my Discord server I have a Estonian who's very active, and I told him, I said, you're a country where like
wow,
I'm like everyone hates Estonians.
Well,
and
that can't be right. I've never heard of this hatred towards Estonian before.
Well, no, in Russia, it was like kind of a known thing that the Baltics were very much pro-Nazi, and it caused some sort of rift after the war.
Wow, that is quite strange. I never knew about that.
Yeah, and that's why in Come and See, the Nazi soldiers in Belarus, the ones who want Belarusians to essentially be extinct, are Baltic. And I mean, not to say that all the people from Estonia or anything like that, but I think that what a situation like World War II, and especially a situation like the Holocaust, brings out is that the people with these more extremist beliefs, these people that hate, that really just want these other people extinct, it's like their time to shine in a sense.
So what was the problem with Belarusians from the Nazis? Why were they killing them?
I am not sure. I honestly don't know. I can understand the Baltics and say, they border on Belarus, and there's probably some sort of long-standing, millennia-old rivalry, But as far as what the Germans really cared about them, I'm not sure, unless the Germans were just trying to destroy everything related to Russia. Because, Belarus is pretty much
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they really did hate Russia, but they didn't, kill everyone they met in Russia, did they? So I don't know why Belarus would be special.
Well, Hitler made the same problem as...
Or did they? Did they kill everyone in Russia?
Well, there was the siege of Stalingrad. They tried to kill everyone in Stalingrad with the siege.
Well, they killed Stalingrad because it has... Well, it was Stalingrad back then, but
it was Stalingrad.
The point was that it's called Stalingrad after Stalin, so they wanted to kill it because they hate Stalin. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't think they were aiming for all the Russians, but I guess it's pretty bad either way.
Yeah, it's not to say that the Allied forces weren't also killing civilians, because there's plenty of cases where
they weren't purposely
Dresden,
killing them. I don't think.
Well, I'd say the firebombing of Dresden wasn't exactly.
I don't know about that. Wasn't Dresden specifically military?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that plenty of civilians died. That's war. That's just war for you. Also, you could also say Japan with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the killing of the civilians, but. Yeah. I think that's a little bit
I think Japan is probably a way better example than the Dresden bombings.
Yeah, but what I was about to say is that I think that's a little looking at it too black and white, because Japan at that point was getting ready for us to invade, and was essentially arming all of its citizens and having all of its citizens ready to fight, and would the body count have been higher?
Oh, from what I heard, they were actually pretty close to surrendering, or at least they could have made a surrender happen much easier than dropping the bombs. There's been this latest. There've been a few videos on it lately, by notorious leftists. I guess you wouldn't like them much, but I guess they think it's pretty unjustified that happened. But I don't know. I guess it's
Yeah,
it's hard to tell
also
now.
not. It's also not so much, what we might know now, but you also have to look at it like, what did people know back then? And I think that from a 1945 perspective, it looked like it was going to be a long and bitter battle through all of Japan.
Well, they could have definitely dropped one bomb first. Come on, you didn't need to drop two right away.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so comically
that.
overkill. It's pretty hard to justify.
I think that there was more at play in there too, than just making Japan surrender, and I think it was also sort of America trying to shock the world into essentially becoming the new de facto superpower, or military superpower.
Yeah.
Of course, that led us to the Cold War, and all sorts of nuclear hysteria and.
I mean, I don't know if they could have avoided that. I mean, that probably would have happened anyways if they have the bombs.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that showing off our bombs didn't really help anything. Because it made the other big countries want to get their own.
Yeah, I guess
what I mean?
That's definitely true, yeah. They should have definitely cut that out, Damn.
But I'm not here to judge people the past. What happened, but and there's really nothing you can do about it other than learn. And
wait, you're not here to judge people in the past when talking about a movie about the Holocaust. I don't know. I think you probably should judge some people in the past for what they've done.
Well, you can judge people, but what I'm saying is, like, judging them or not judging them is not gonna change the fact that it happened. And I think that what's important for people now, 80 years later, is to look back and see, like, how did it get to this point, and how can we stop this from happening again? And something interesting that was brought up in the documentary was that a lot of the stuff in the Holocaust wasn't really anything new. Ghettos and stuff weren't a new concept. A lot of this stuff, like, they weren't new concepts. The gas chambers were. But everything else was old.
That's interesting, but the thing is that it's still, like, specifically unusual to have stuff like that now. I mean, do you have ghettos in any other cities nowadays? I mean, maybe you have something in China, I don't know, but I mean, in most modern countries, it's pretty rare that you would, like, treat a minority that way.
Yeah, I would say in Western civilization, you don't have it. What you have in, like, Western civilization aren't ghettos, but people tend to just naturally live around their own ethnicity, and that's why you have, like, Chinatown and Little Italy and things like that. But if they want to move to another part of town, they can. They're not barred from it.
Like, it was so insane that they like, the Nazi ghettos were just so wild. I can't believe that people just went along with it. So, like, yeah, okay, so I guess this district is now dedicated to Jews only, and if they try to leave, then they get abducted or killed in the streets. It's so wild to think that could happen. I don't know.
And not too long ago either. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that long ago.
Very, very recently. I don't even know if people back then are even much different than now.
I don't think that people really ever changed that much.
Well, they obviously changed a good bit. Like, if you have medieval people, they would be way different than people now. But I think people from World War II, they're like probably like 90% like us. I don't know. Like, when it comes to like culture and stuff, so it's pretty weird. That
cultural values can change. Yeah. Cultural values can change, but people like, people 1,000 years ago were still, built really the same as us. So I don't know how different people in the Middle Ages or people in Rome. Or,
wait, are you saying built like in physically or what, mentally?
Mentally, mentally, like,
I find that pretty hard to believe. It was like crazy how different societies back then were. You didn't have
well, I mean, I'm saying
indoor
cultural
plumbing
values
or
can
anything.
change.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
but the day to day
the
is
lack
like
of
completely different. We have
the
it so much
day-to-day is
easier
different.
now.
The day to day is different, but you know, and just because they lack some sort of thing that we have now, doesn't mean that they're inherently different. I mean, you can look back on. You were just saying people from the 1940s, right? Were pretty much probably very similar to to how we are, but they didn't have computers or smartphones, access to internet, cars like we have.
Well, they definitely
Even
had
like
cars.
even like no, but not cars. Like they went slower. They were more expensive.
I mean, in the grand scheme
now
of things, it makes not that much difference how fast the car goes. But
no,
the
but
point
what I'm
is,
saying is that the technology has over the last 80 years, technology has exponentially increased. You know, you even look back in the 40s and plane travel, like commercial airline travel, wasn't even really that popular of a thing. It was still kind of in its infancy because planes were only invented in the early 1900s, and commercial plane travel in the 40s was. I mean,
Yeah, but
it happened, but it wasn't like on the same scale that we had.
I mean,
or
my
we have
point
right
is
now.
that back in the days, people were like spending like most of the day farming on the field, and like in the 40s, that was surely not the case anymore. I'm sure they had tractors and everything, except for maybe in these less developed countries like Poland and stuff. They might still have done a lot of that farming. So I guess.
They probably still have that now.
Well, no, surely, come on, a tractor isn't that expensive. Wait, is it?
No. I'm just saying that it's. I'm just making it.
I mean,
I don't know.
They were probably more close to the basic way of living that they had in the Middle Ages than now, actually, huh?
I think too that in Poland and in a lot of Poland was sort of the westernmost. It was like a satellite state of the USSR. You know what I mean? It wasn't in the USSR, but it was still like communist. During the 80s when he was there, communist or socialist or whatever they wanted to call it, and I think that might have held it back, like technologically speaking, because when he was there in the 80s, Claude Lanzmann was in Poland in the 80s, they were still using like horse and buggies, like it was the Middle Ages.
Huh.
In the documentary.
But they had these nice brick houses, so I guess it's hard to believe that they wouldn't have some kind of really good farming tools.
I mean, they have trains and everything like that, but it's just that sort of like weird. This happened in Eastern Europe because it was also like the case in like Hungary. And I got this from watching some movies about Hungary, like in the 80s, and then the like post-Soviets, sort of collapse of the Soviet Union, where it's a mix of kind of modern architecture and some modern technology, but also just the economy being really bad and people not being able to afford it. So it's kind of like it's there, but your poor farmer, your average poor farmer can't really afford some of it. But I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass.
I wonder how it is now. I mean, I guess the best way to look at it would be like look at their GDP. I know there's some countries in Europe that are like really weak when it comes to their GDP, and then when you go there, then your euros will be like infinitely valuable compared to what they are here in Austria, for example.
Yeah, because Austria is all the rich Germans, right?
I think we might be slightly richer than Germany, or maybe we're on par. I don't actually know. Come to think of it, huh?
Aren't Austrians like the snobbish Germans? It's like we're better than you, and they look down on the Germans.
We actually have more socialism here. Okay, we got great social welfare and everything. We're definitely the superior Germans. All right.
That's what I'm saying. The Austrians have always seen themselves as the superior Germans. That's why they went and they sent their political man to go head up Germany about 90 years ago.
Oh shit. Well, no, he didn't make it in Austria. That's what happened. And then he was like, damn these Austrians, I will get them.
But isn't that like just the case for Austrian supremacy? It's just like even the guy that gets like isn't good enough for Austria can still make it and become the dictator of Germany.
I don't know. I think that might not have worked out too well. Probably should have kept him under wrap.
Yeah, he just should have been let into art school, and then none of this would have happened.
Yeah, they should have had more social like art schools where they would accept everyone. That would have definitely been better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't happen now because I think art schools have learned their lesson.
Wait, what part? Do you think they wouldn't accept him, or they would accept him?
No, they would accept him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how women still have to learn their lessons about incels, right?
Oh shit.
There's only one way to stop incels.
Well, actually, have you seen the movie Max from 2002?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god, you gotta see it. It's a movie about Hitler when he was just getting started with. I mean, he was a failed artist, I guess, and he's got this rich Jewish friend named Max, who I think is made up, but in the movie, Max was there and he was always trying to help Hitler, try to get him be like an accepted artist, but Hitler always insisted that he wanted to do his very classical art, and he despised all kinds of modern art, and whenever Max tried to take him along to a party, Hitler would just start a crazy rant about the Jews or whatever. It's a really good movie. I guess it kind of reminds me of Naked, even that other movie that you're gonna watch, because it's also just like this really crazy hobo who just rants. Well, only that it's Hitler, so. Definitely super crazy.
Yeah, I'll watch that. And I know that there was another like satire called like Look Who's Back with Hitler.
Oh, that one's good too, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean the really good one was Downfall with Bruno Ganz playing as Hitler. Bruno Ganz who died like, didn't he die like last year?
Oh,
the year before.
That is tragic, damn.
Yeah, he was a great actor.
Yeah.
I think his last movie was The House That Jack Built.
Oh, wow.
His last film.
Yeah, he's definitely like the guy that you think of when you think of Hitler, right? Well, he's really owned that role.
How would you like that to be your legacy? Written on his tombstone. He was the best Hitler.
And it just says 999. I think it's pretty good. You could really ramble in that role.
but what going back to Shoah.
You almost forgot what it was called. Oh, shit.
No, I'm just like recollecting my thoughts.
All right.
Yeah, going back to Shoah, one of the most sort of awkward scenes in there. Actually, before I do that, I wanted to talk about too, not just how the Holocaust was done, because a lot of people think that they know the sort of mechanisms of it, right? The Jews were put into ghettos, and then from the ghettos they were taken to the trains, and then the trains took them to the death camps, and then they either were selected to work, in which case
I don't actually,
a lot of them died.
I don't actually know how much people really know about it nowadays. I mean, if you think about the fact that they literally had like ghettos that were like fenced in with a wall, I mean that's stuff that you wouldn't really think of. I mean, I guess if you've watched enough documentaries you might know, but I think there's a lot of people out there who have like almost no idea. They just know about the concentration camps.
But I would say if you want to know about the ghettos, watch the movie The Pianist with Adrian Brody.
Yeah, that's a pretty good movie. Yeah,
I was thinking of that. So actually, funny story about The Pianist. The first time I saw it was at Rusty Cage's house.
Wow.
And
what a cheerful movie to watch.
It was like 2 a.m. So we were just like, we were hanging out, and it was 2 a.m. at night, and he said, Hey Kino, I want to show you a movie. And he puts in The fucking Pianist.
Nice.
2 a.m. So we're watching it until 5 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, I had an all-nighter of the Holocaust movies that night at Rusty's house.
He just went over to his huge wall of Nazi memorabilia and Nazi movies, right? And then he pulled that one out.
Yeah.
Check, like, did you see this one? Did you see this one?
I was thinking about The Pianist too when watching Shoah, because they were talking about the ghetto fighters, the sort of resistance within the ghetto and how they got hold of guns and they were, killing Germans. But then the one guy, and it's a really tragic story, he went to basically he escaped out of the ghetto and he was going into the sewers to find like an escape route for the rest of the people in the ghetto to help everyone vacate, because there was a lot of fighting, because the fighting had really picked up between the Germans and the Jews at that point. And so he went out and he found these sewer workers, and they talk about this in Shoah. And when he went back to the ghetto, and it had been only like a day, literally everyone was dead. He just like got up, and he said like things were burned, everyone was dead. Everyone in the ghetto died.
I really like how he describes when he first got out, and he just says that it was just like the normal life outside. And then when he comes back to discovering how everyone was dead, oh my god, that's such a crazy difference. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's a matter of essentially just going across like over one wall. That's the crazy thing. It's like you have normal life on one side of the wall. And in the same city. It's not like you're in El Paso, right? And you have El Paso there, and then you have what's the town right next to El Paso? The Mexican,
I don't know.
Big Mexican town. Juarez, is it Juarez? But where Sicario is. It's not like it's different countries and
what's Sicario? Is Sicario prison? I feel like I've heard this, but I don't remember what exactly.
It's a movie. Highly recommend it by Denis Villeneuve.
Damn, so many recommendations. I better watch them.
on the U.S. Mexico border. But it's not like it's a different country or anything like that. It's like it's the same city. And on one side of the wall, it's a war zone where everyone's dead. On the other side of the wall, it's like normal life, and everyone's acting like nothing's happening. That's kind of that crazy dichotomy, But another really interesting fact from Shoah is how, going way back to kind of near the beginning of the podcast, how they had to go through travel agencies to like mass book the trains and everything. They didn't have a budget for transportation, and so that's actually why they took the Jews' gold, was to essentially pay their way to the death camps, to the concentration camps.
I mean, I guess they didn't have a budget for anything. It's just that they just got like the normal soldier wage, but like all the other things they probably they just stole, because they had conquered the country anyway, so they could just do whatever.
Yeah, so they literally made them pay for their own train tickets to the Auschwitz and Birkenau, Treblinka.
Yeah, but at least the train company was so kind to let the kids ride for free so that they could get killed.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing, that the trains just were like, oh, the kids can ride for free. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah.
It's really hard to believe that most of these people didn't know about it, especially if the ghettos are like right there. I mean, you probably hear gunshots like all the time and screaming and whatever. They're like, yeah, no, we didn't know.
I don't know if it's a matter of like, did they not know, or did they just try to pretend that it wasn't happening?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty dangerous, but damn, what a...
Or just, they're like, oh, I'm going to live with this. I just have to focus on my own life. And, no matter, like, even though this is happening, I have to focus on me right now. This is a time of crisis, and I can't worry about those people. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of way of thinking. I don't know if it's that I'm sure that they knew. But they had to drown it out somehow.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you about the train.
No, and what I was gonna say is that I think the story. So for anyone who hasn't seen Shoah, it's essentially a lot of interviews. People giving their own stories, and the story that really I think got me the most. And it was actually several different people kind of telling the same story, but from different perspectives. And it was in Auschwitz. And it was the guy that was on the special unit, which meant that he was a Jew who cremated the bodies.
Yeah, the Sonderkommando, the special command.
Yeah, the special command, and then the other guy was like he was like a courier, and then there was that family camp that was essentially they built this family camp there for families to live,
Yeah, the PR
concentration camp
where they could say, "Oh, look, the camps aren't so bad," and then they show footage from this one camp where they didn't treat them quite as horrible, and I like how they said months, it was such a nice camp. Only 25% of them died, like a
exactly.
year. Yeah, damn.
Well, what's the one guy said like he was 13, when he was there, and he's like all he knew was the ghetto, and he didn't even think anything new of the concentration camps because he was just used to seeing dead people all over the street, and he thought that's just how life was.
So he was from the nice ghetto, or from the nice camp, or from the normal camp?
No. He was one of the guys, I think, in Auschwitz.
Right,
and he didn't think anything
Auschwitz
new.
is both of them.
No, no. He was. I think that was the guy in the special command.
Ah, okay.
He was like 13 when he was doing it, and he was like, I didn't think anything of these dead bodies because he just kind of grown up.
But he literally had to like destroy them. He had to stir the corpses, so to speak, while they were burning.
Yeah, and it's
he must definitely have had it the worst. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. But the one story about that family camp is that they had them there for 6 months, and then that guy, spied a note that said that they were all going to be gassed, and then so the other guy went over to the family camp and to talk to the leader of the Jews there to say, hey, look, they're going to kill all of you soon, and then the leader killed himself.
Oh my god, that was a really powerful moment too. Yeah. He told him how they needed him to lead the revolt and how he was their last hope, and then he kills himself because it was so hopeless. Oh my god.
He kills himself, and then he goes and he tells everyone else there, and they just kind of all gave up, and they went into the gas chamber, and they started singing. They were Czech Jews. Started singing the Czech national anthem, and then the one guy, the special command guy, was standing there, and he went into the gas chamber with them, and they told him to not be there, to just basically say like, well, just because we're gonna die doesn't mean you have to. And so they kicked him out of the gas chamber, but they were completely apathetic. And I mean, I can understand like giving up on life at that point, but it was even like listening to it so frustrating because you're just like, you just want them to do something, and nothing's done. It's just, there's a lot of psychological grooming being done in the Holocaust, like having their hair cut, having the barbers in the gas chambers to cut the women's hair just to make them feel like nothing bad was amiss, making the undressing room look like an international information center, and having all these like slogans like about how they need to not have lice and they need to be clean and things like that. And then they would also sort of like rile them up or like get them in a positive energy right before getting into the gas chambers by like saying like, who here, what's your job, sir? We need tailors, we need shoemakers, and this kind of stuff, like using this weird kind of manipulation tactics to just make people willingly go into the gas chambers.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you treat animals too if you butcher them, so that's definitely awful. It's wild how how many of these things relied on everything going well for them to really manage to pull all of that off. And I guess it's too bad that more people didn't fight back. Otherwise, they probably could have saved quite a lot of Jews.
Yeah, it's easy, I guess, looking back on it now to say, like, why didn't you fight back? But these people didn't have hardly had any food or resources. Like, the resistance was going to fight back, and then the German command, the Nazi command, kind of had an inkling that, like, they kind of knew, and they just starved them, to make them weak and not able to fight. Starved them for, like, months.
Yeah, the starving thing is incredibly effective because you can't really do anything if you're starving and thirsty. And
yeah, exactly.
When they come out of the trains, especially, they're almost incapable of doing anything. So
yeah, because they haven't had water in days, and so they would tell just those people. Those were the people coming from, like, Greece, from farther away. If they were coming from Poland, they would use the other manipulation tactics. But if they're coming from farther away, where it was like a 15 to 20 day trip on a train, a lot of the people already, died on the train. And then the ones that made it were, as I described, half crazed, parched, starved. And they would just say, come in here and we'll give you a big cup of tea. They basically say, come in here and we'll give you water. You just have to do this. And then they put them in the gas chamber.
Yeah, can you imagine riding in a train to possibly your death for 20 days and then you have no food and water?
I can't even imagine riding in a train for 20 days.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is not... unless you watch Snowpiercer, I guess that's not a scenario that's going to happen these days.
Yeah, I rode a train across the country from New Orleans to Glacier Park, Montana, and... that only took me 3 days, I think, and that's
still
much
very
longer.
long. I mean,
yeah,
you must have really wanted to get off then, like the constant train movement. Oh my god!
Yeah, I think that's a longer distance than from Greece to Poland.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and some of that wasn't even in the train. Like, I had a day in Chicago, so it was like maybe 2 days.
I assume they weren't able to take, like, the main railways. I don't know what they even... Were they able?
Well, there were special trains. And, yeah, there were special trains. And,
But did they take, like, the longer way so that they wouldn't be seen?
I'm not sure. The other possibility is that trains were... Like, the tracks were just being used heavily because it was wartime. And so maybe they would have to stop in places to let... other trains come by, you know what I mean? And I know that in some places...
I guess, but it's still, like, such a thing that they would definitely not want people to see, is like a train full of Jews that are in despair and crying and yelling.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, like, go, like, straight through cities,
Exactly, but are there railways outside the cities? That's the question. I guess we don't know. Because back in the day, there were even less railways than now. I mean, I guess you could probably go to the least populated cities at least.
Yeah, you could like, I don't... The movie goes into it to a certain extent of, like, how they were ordered, what it was like on there, very kind of the personal experience. I mean, also some of the bureaucratic stuff, as well. But let me see how long we've been talking for about an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start wrapping this up. So I think that if Shoah was made today, a lot of people like to say, like, oh no, like, how can a movie be 9.5 hours long? I think that it could, like, the movie as it is could still be made today. It just, when it came out in 1985, docuseries weren't really a thing. But I could definitely see it being like if it released today, it would be the same length. It would just, I mean, I watched it in 4 parts.
I mean, it would definitely be shorter because you'd cut out the translation time for sure. Like, they talk with a guy in a foreign language, and then they retranslate it into into French, but then they dub over the French, but they didn't dub over what the guy was saying before. So, I mean, that's just one extra step that's not usually needed.
Yeah, and that's something that I think that was just more of something that, you know, was standard at that time that wouldn't be standard now. But it would still be long. At no part in the movie did I feel like it was unnecessary. Everything was adding to this grand narrative. You know, everything was adding something to it. And I think that, you know, like, if you approach it not as like this monolithic movie that's, you know, you're like, I have to sit down and watch it for 9.5 hours straight. Like, is it? But if you approach it like a docuseries and you take it in parts, it's a lot more palatable. You know, it's easier to do. You can sit down and watch it for 2 hours and then come back a week later, come back a day later or something like that and watch the next part.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a miniseries.
It's like watching a Lord of the Rings marathon.
Yeah, exactly. Except it's a documentary about the Holocaust.
I mean, there's some pretty evil stuff in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Lord of the Rings kind of inspired a little bit by World War II? I think it was.
Wait, is that the time? I don't know. Was it World War One? Maybe. I know it's very old. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. I guess the orcs are very much like Nazis.
But I would say too that it's, you know, with the movie like Shoah, I think how it really works is the fact that it's not showing archival footage. The director isn't putting in any of his thoughts. It's interviewing just a ton of people who were involved in it in some way, shape, or form. And not just the people who are the victims, but also the perpetrators. You know, several Nazis talking about it. And you don't just get a sense of how it was done or why it was done, but you also get a sense of the people's thought processes and emotions during it, and also looking back on it, which humanizes it more. And he humanizes everyone involved in it, which also makes it, I think, scarier.
Well, I guess, I mean, he's not too humanizing to the Nazis. I guess he's asking aggressive questions.
No, he's quite aggressive. But the thing is that you're still seeing them, because it's easy, right, to like look back on history and kind of see this like nameless, faceless Nazi, right, under Adolf Hitler. But here he is sitting with them, having tea with them, interviewing them. And it's like, this is a real person. You know, it's not like some...
Yeah, and it's like some old grandpa, and then his old wife comes and brings tea.
Exactly.
It's really something. And when he talks to the guy in the bar, was that really the guy who... I guess his name was Wirt. It was...
Oberhauser?
No, Wirt.
Wasn't his...
It was the one that was... Oh, yeah, I guess Oberhauser might have been his fake name. Yeah, apparently he was like one of the leaders of the camps, and he revolutionized the efficiency of killing people. And he was like a real hard ass.
And he was a bartender.
And then
he was a bartender.
Yeah, he was just a bartender, and then the guy asks him, how much beer do you serve every day? What was up with that? Was he gonna say? Was it gonna be a number that's similar to amount of people killed?
No, I think he was just asking him because of his, like, he knew that the guy had a hard on for like efficiency or like
oh yeah, that
numbers.
makes sense actually.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, I can serve this much for you can maximize this.
Yeah. I like how he said, "Oh, I don't want to talk. I have my reasons." Oh wow, that's not guilty right there.
He said, I have my reasons, and then don't they say, "Aren't you Oberhauser?" Or they say something like, he just asked him.
I know the last name is Wirt, so.
Yeah.
He showed him a picture of Wirt in a uniform. I don't know. It didn't look that similar. I guess he's Well, he was wearing a full uniform, so
Yeah, and also it's a 35-year difference.
yeah. I guess
You know.
he lost weight as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that it took him 11 years to make this documentary. And I don't think I could ever spend 11 years on a project, so, bravo to him for that. After like 1 year on a single project, I'm already tired of it.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a lot of work. How did he? I mean, did it take that long? I guess it must have. I guess
it was probably funding too, because he had to pay for film, and I mean the movie, actually, the documentary is quite cinematic looking. It's quite a pretty documentary. It's not like an ugly documentary at all. But I'm sure that probably a lot of it just had to do with funding.
Yeah, it must be really hard to fund a movie that'll take 11 or 8, did you say, years?
11 years, yeah.
Yeah, that must be real bad for getting funding. Damn.
Yeah, he's probably just getting like bits and pieces, flying to Israel, flying to Poland, Germany, the U.S., the New York. It was kind of surreal seeing the World Trade Centers.
Oh yeah,
when he was in New York City.
Yeah, he just films like random things that he sees wherever he's at.
Yeah, and he was also filming like something that I really liked is that he would like film in the death camps, like the walk that they would have to do through it. Like to get to the chambers, or like along the train ways in, to kind of give you this experience of what it was like to be there at that time.
Yeah, that's definitely really, really empathic. You can totally see all of that stuff, but in the moment, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. While the people are talking about it, and you can, even though what you're seeing is a ruin of what was once there, you can imagine everything else, being there at that time. But yeah, I think we should put a cap on it right now.
I just have
Florian,
one question. The guy that he sees getting a haircut, is that the guy from the start that was singing?
So
you don't know.
I thought that I know. Like I thought that was the case too, but I'm not sure.
It looks like him, but also Like I guess considering it took 11 years, it might have made sense that it might have been him at a different age.
It might have been him, but it might have not been him. I'm not quite sure, because when that scene started, I thought that he was going to be the subject, and then when the barber started talking, I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm not the only one that thought, like, is that the same guy? It's also hard because it's so long, right? And
yeah.
And it had been a couple hours since you'd seen him.
Well, I rewinded and I still didn't know. I don't know. Maybe I have some weird face blindness. I feel like he had a very similar hair, so maybe I shouldn't be misled by that.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought that maybe that was the guy from the beginning, the guy that sang in the river.
Yeah, that guy is like the main character of the show.
Yeah, I'd say him and the train conductor.
Yeah.
Because they like to go on the train, and then yeah, definitely.
Oh man.
Oh, and the American historian is also in there quite a lot. He's sort of like the more academic, I would say, sort of voice, where he wasn't involved in the Holocaust, but he was investigating it. And he was there to fill in gaps, I would say. The one American guy. His name was like Raoul something.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So how great was that scene where they brought the singing Jew back to the village where everyone remembered him?
That was so awkward.
I feel like it was awkward, but it was also weirdly positive. But then I guess that it didn't take him long for them to start talking about how the Jews killed Jesus.
Yeah, I know. It took him about 10 minutes. And the thing is that it's not cutting at all. You know, and then And then they just start talking how the Holocaust happened because the Jews killed Jesus.
Yeah. that was insane, yeah.
And then it's just like zooming in on his face, and he has the most awkward expression.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, like, yeah, I'd be feeling kind of, I'd be sort of cringing then too. Like, I'm not blaming him. And he doesn't say a word. That's also the thing.
Yeah.
In that whole scene, he doesn't say anything. It's just all the townspeople like hogging the camera, wanting to say their piece. And they're all just talking and talking and talking. And yeah, then it becomes, because the blood of Christ went on their heads, and that's why the Jews got it. And they was like, well, I didn't say that. That's what a rabbi told me. And that's what the one guy said. I didn't say that.
Yeah, he should just started singing. That would have probably been it.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't say that. And then some woman basically was like, no, but that's why it happened.
Whoa.
You know, in that thing that, oh my gosh, that was a really awkward scene.
Yeah. What a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, one of the funny things is that one Polish guy that had like no teeth, and he's like, I didn't like the Jews. Like, the Jews were ugly and they stank, but he's talking and he has like no teeth.
Well, they were tailors. No, what, tanners. That's why they stank, supposedly.
Yeah, they're tanners.
He just thinks of them as stinky.
And then the women in that Polish town were like, yeah, we didn't like the Jewish women because the men wanted to have sex with them and not with us.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of like,
and the
so
ones where they say, oh, the Jews, they made everything so expensive we couldn't afford it. Yeah, damn.
Yeah, that was the same guy that called they were like, oh yeah, they were all tanners.
Was it the same guy?
That was the same guy. Yeah, I think so.
I feel like it was women that said that. Maybe, not sure.
And I mean, a lot of people said, similar things. But yeah, so Florian, would you say that Shoah is Kino?
Yeah, it's definitely Kino. Just gotta make sure you got the time, I guess, or you just watch it at home, or like listen to it at least.
Yeah, I'd say I would also say it's Kino. I think that if you're asking a girl out on a date, this could be a good first date.
Yeah, what a turn on, eh?
Yeah, that'd be actually like a Woody Allen move. Have you seen Annie Hall?
No, what's that?
Oh, Annie Hall's great. It's a Woody Allen comedy, and the thing that he does is in the movie is that he takes girls out to see on dates to the movie theaters to see a movie called The Sorrow and the Pity, which is a 4-hour long not like documentary about Nazi occupation of France. I'm pretty sure.
Impressive.
So I'm saying it's a Woody Allen move to show Shoah like on the first date. Like you gotta know. It's like.
Well, at least you're gonna not be like Taxi Driver and bring her to a porn theater. At least that's something.
You haven't done that? You haven't done that before?
What? Oh yeah.
Oh, I guess porn theaters don't really exist anymore. You just have to kind of bring her to the house and put it on the TV.
Yeah, I had some awkward movie dates. Yeah.
I took a girl out on a first date to see Eraserhead.
Impressive.
I'm still proud of that.
So did it work out?
We ended up dating for like a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it worked.
Pretty good.
But anyways, Florian, do you wanna play us out?
Play us
so
out. Oh shit!
I don't know.
Am I gonna sing the song from the movie? Oh. No, I don't. Yeah, I wish I could.
Yeah, sing the song. Sing the Nazi SS song from the movie.
Yeah, how the girls would come out when the soldiers came to town because they wanted children. Oh my god. Well, anyways,
that's Florian whenever he. That's Florian when he visits Germany. He's like, I have my high Austrian genes, but he doesn't want to sully them with the German genes.
I actually am mixed race, so that probably doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what are you mixed race with?
Kurdish Iraqi.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's my father. Being diverse, that beat.
Kurdish Iraqi.
Yeah.
That's like the cringe Iraqis, right? That's like northern Iraq.
Well, I think they're like I guess the communists really like him. I don't know. I think
those are the commies, the commie Iraqis.
I think they're probably more based than the regular Iraqis, but they're also persecuted. So I don't know if you like that.
No, I know that they're commies. That's all I know about the Kurds. Is that there's a lot of commie Kurds.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why my mom would be into that. Yeah. No shit.
Yeah.
That's why you're living today.
That's why you're living in Austria.
Well, no, that my mom was definitely born in Austria, but yeah.
I'm just making a joke about Europe. Yeah, all right. Well, I think that's it.
All right, well,
do we just say that?
Subscribe to Game Squid and Kino Corner, and,
yeah.
well, watch out for another Kino next week. Goodbye.